Hi everyone and welcome back. Today, let's be honest, look, the reaction by many people to my last video on the hate speech laws has been, in many cases, pretty hysterical to many people. People are acting like free speech has ended overnight or is about to end, like the government just banned all opinions, like saying the wrong thing will somehow land you in prison. But I think we need to stay focused here and look at the reality. Most of these people that are panicking have not read the bill. They haven't read the explanatory memorandum. What they're doing is reacting to fear rather than just looking at the real facts. So let's talk about what's actually really happening here. And in my last video, I did say that these things can be abused. There's no doubt about that. But I keep hearing people say, look, this is a 500, 600 page censorship law bill. Well, it's actually not. The actual bill itself is about 136 pages. The 500 plus page document that people keep referencing is the explanatory memorandum. Now that explains the bill. And the bill is not 500 pages of new speech bans. What it is legal commentary that almost nobody, I can be sure that nobody's really read it. And yet somehow everybody online is suddenly an expert or a constitutional lawyer. But the reality is, and this might be an uncomfortable truth, this law changes almost nothing in day-to-day reality. Most of what it actually does just strengthens the existing laws as we already know them. It targets threats. It targets incitements to violence and that kind of thing. It targets extremist violence. It targets people trying to stir real-world harm. So in other words, it mostly affects people who want to post reckless, aggressive, or violent garbage online. Now, if that's your idea of free speech, if that's what you think is a good idea, well, we don't agree on that. Now, here's the part that nobody wants to actually admit. This law, it doesn't actually need to silence people. What happens is fear does it for itself. Fear does it for them. People are now saying, well, I better not criticise politicians, or they're thinking about it. I better not talk about Israel. I better not say anything that could be taken or that could be controversial. But none of that is actually illegal, not even in this bill. What people are doing is they're actually silencing themselves. That's not censorship, that's psychological compliance. So the government barely has to lift a finger if they want to shut people down. People that are sensationalising this are doing it themselves. Let's be specific, you can still criticise politicians. You can still attack government policy. You can still oppose immigration openly. You can debate gender ideology. You can slam certain ideologies. You can criticise Zionism. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You can criticise religion. You can say things that are unpopular. You can even say things that are offensive. See, this law doesn't ban dissent or disagreement. What it targets specifically is speech that encourages violence, threatens groups, or dehumanises people. Basically, anything that's trying to stir up some kind of harm. And frankly, like I said before, if that's what you want to defend, well, that says more about you than what it actually says about the law itself. See, the thing is, if this bothers you, good. I think that's a good thing. Let me say this really clearly. If you think that it's your right to call groups rats or call certain groups of people vermin or say that certain groups deserve harm, if you want to encourage mobs and stoke violence, then yes, this law is going to target you directly. And personally, I don't really have an issue with that. I don't know why anyone who is reasonable and logical would have a problem with that. So if you're here to defend speech that leads to violence, make sure you hit the unsubscribe button on my channel. I'm not building a channel for people who want to stir up trouble and burn everything to the ground. And this is where the irony is. The people who scream the loudest, who have hit unsubscribe on the channel about tyranny, and the ones shrinking, they're the ones that are actually shrinking their own speech. And they're doing it the most. They're actually causing it. They're telling themselves, I can't say this anymore, which just makes them quieter, less likely to speak, more fearful. And when you're more fearful and quieter, you're easier to control. So instead of actually defending free speech, they're training themselves to be silent. And that in itself is counterintuitive. It's backwards, if anything. So real talk. The internet. The internet is not your lounge room at home. It's not a pub rant or something like that. It's not a private joke. The internet is a public broadcast. It's permanent. It's searchable. It's shareable. People can share it all around. So yes, maybe the real lesson is a lot more simple than we think. Don't run your mouth. Don't run your mouth online in a public place. Speak clearly, speak deliberately, or just don't speak at all. Think about what you want to say. I think that's the whole purpose of what I've been trying to say here. Now that's not tyranny, it's maturity, it's adulthood, it's being responsible. So if your speech is political, if your speech is critical or unpopular, sharp, controversial, well, nothing in this bill is going to affect you. You're still free to speak. But again, if your idea of free speech is inciting violence or making threats or dehumanizing groups or just reckless rage because you're angry, then no, society is drawing a bit of a harder line here. And honestly, that's probably not a bad thing. So let's stop sensationalizing reality. Let's stop panicking over laws that most people have not actually opened up and had a good read of. And for the love of God, let's stop handing power over to fear. Nothing in this bill says that you're being silenced. Instead, you're being tested to speak like an adult instead of like an angry mob. I hope that clears it up. I really appreciate you watching here today. If you thought it was useful, make sure you like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.